Hello and welcome to Top Gear's Speed Week 2022, which, if you're not aware, is our annual performance car bonanza. Now, for the last 2 years, we've been stuck in the UK for obvious COVID-related reasons. But this year, we've spread our wings and we've landed in the Czech Republic at the incredible Autodrom Most. We actually drove here, which was quite a lot of miles, but the track fun is about to begin. I thought I'd take this opportunity just to introduce the contenders that we've got here this year, because it's quite a lineup. And we start here with something nice and subtle, a bright orange Lamborghini. This is the Lamborghini Huracán Tecnica. Think of it as a car that slots somewhere between the standard Evo rear-wheel drive model and the super hardcore roof scoopy STO. So you get the STO spec engine, 623 horsepower, I think it is, some lightweight bits. But ultimately, and we debated about this long and hard, should we bring this car along? But it's 8 years of Huracán knowledge and trying and testing distilled into one car. The best Huracán yet. It's in with a shout. And we move on to another Italian supercar, and this is exciting, isn't it? A Maserati, a proper supercar, the first Maserati supercar for absolutely decades. And what I love about this thing is it goes about its business a little bit differently. If you ask Maserati what the most exciting thing about this car is, they will tell you that it's the new V6 twin turbo engine in the back. It's got over 600 horsepower, but really it's the fact that it's a more relaxed take on a mid-engine supercar. I've already driven this thing and it is lovely on the road. Nice supple suspension, great steering, it's fast too. Can it hold its own on the track? We're going to find out. Moving on to a slightly bizarre machine. So the McLaren Elva, you must know about it. This is the windscreenless speedster the McLaren brought out. But this one's got a windscreen, hasn't it? That's because they needed to sell a few more of these cars, and this was a requirement to sell them in the US, I'm told. What is it? Well, it's an absolutely bonkers roadster now, isn't it? It's got a twin turbo V8 in the back, over 800 horsepower. Yeah, bit of a bizarre thing to get your head around, but I think it's going to be one of the wildest things here when we get to the track. And then we get to the Porsche, the GT4 RS. Now, you've probably seen the videos, you've seen the reviews. I'll be honest, it's an early favourite because at last Porsche's crammed the screaming 9,000 RPM 4-litre flat six from the GT3 into the back, well, the middle rather, of a Cayman, and the results are astonishing. And really, this car's party trick is the fact that it doesn't take life too seriously. Yeah, it's got a bit more downforce and it's got motorsport pedigree, but really, if you talk to Andreas Preuninger, the man behind this car, it's all about having fun. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. And these intakes here, these carbon intakes in the rear quarter windows, that is where the noise comes from. It sounds like a GT4, standard GT4 from the outside, but from the inside, just wait until you hear this thing at 9,000 RPM. The BMW M4 CSL. So the return of the CSL badge. This is big news in car world full stop, but especially among BMW enthusiasts. They haven't used the CSL badge for what, 2 decades now? And this is the result. So you take an M4, you add 40 horsepower, you take away 100 kilos, and you end up with this. It's an enticing recipe, isn't it? But I'll be honest, it looks like a bit of a show-off. You've got these stripes on the bonnet and all these bits. Looks like it crashed into the tuning aisle in Halfords. I also counted 13 separate CSL badges inside, which is far too many. So look, it's a very exciting car, but it's got it all to prove on track. Moving on, it's all killer, no filler, isn't it? Because look at this thing. What a gorgeous car. It's a new mid-engine Ferrari, but it's something really new. After, you know, a few years of the 488 and then the F8, this is a hybrid mid-engined Ferrari, brand new V6 twin turbo engine plus electricity, over 800 horsepower. This is supposedly, in dimensions at least, the baby of the Ferrari range now, but it's got over 800 horsepower and all the power goes to the rear wheels. So bye-bye tyres, you're about to be completely eviscerated. If there's one car I'm most excited about driving here on track this week, it's this. Moving on to something a bit more, well, bizarre, eccentric, British sports cars at its best. It's the new Morgan Super 3, the next generation of the Morgan three-wheeler, and look, it's grown up. It's got a little bit more sensible and a bit more refined. You used to have a V-twin engine hanging out over the front of this car. Now it's got a 3-cylinder non-turbo engine from Ford, 118 horsepower. It weighs nothing, 600 and a bit kilograms, and look at it. It's just hilarious. Great fun, this thing. I'm sure you're going to see it sliding around whether we intend to or not. Moving on to the Audi RS3. Yeah, slightly overshadowed in this competition, and in the past RS3s have always been slightly blunt instruments, but this one is a bit different. It's still got the 5-cylinder engine, it's still got around 400 horsepower, it's still brutally quick 4-wheel drive, but the engineers have dialed in some fun. It's got a new diff at the rear and a new mode called RS Torque Rear, I think, which basically means a slightly synthesized drift mode. We shall be testing it out, but at last, an Audi RS car that has a sense of humour. As does this thing, to be honest, because it is an absolutely enormous Aston Martin DBX SUV, but this is the 707, so it's got over 700 horsepower in a car that weighs 2.3 tons. It's ridiculous. It's got the 4-litre twin-turbo V8, the engine from AMG with the wick turned right up. It's got all the gorgeous carbon bits on it, and it will drift all day, basically, which is going to be a sight to behold given the mass of this thing. So a really eclectic mix of cars we've got there, haven't we? And I must just mention there are a few absentees because, to be honest, they're quite glaring. 4 cars that I want to talk about. The Lotus Emira, there's production delays with that car. Now, we didn't want to drive one and have it here battling it out for Performance Car of the Year unless it was a full production car. The McLaren Artura, of course, we all know about ongoing technical issues with that car, so it wasn't ready to bring along. The Mercedes SL 63, which is now a full house AMG product, but there just wasn't a car available. And what's the last one? Oh yes, the Toyota GR86, which totally blew us away when we drove it, but again, that's having technical issues, troubles with its engine, couldn't get one along. So yes, there are cars absent, but look, do I look unhappy? Look at this lineup of cars. Spectacular. It's going to be a good week.